Good morning, friends. So in the last class we have seen the DC generators, examples of DC generators, okay, construction of DC machine, and the principle of operation, how AC is converted to DC, what is the EMF equation, what are the voltage equations, and what are the types of DC machines we have. All these things we covered in the topic DC generators. So today we will be starting with DC motors. Okay. DC motors. Okay. For DC motor. Construction wise, absolutely there is no difference between DC generator and DC motor. In DC generator, I give field supply and I give mechanical energy to the rotor. Then I will get electrical energy output. That is generator. For DC motor, I give field supply and I give electrical energy to the armature. Then I will get mechanical energy output. Okay. So this is how the motor operates. The motor is one that gives out mechanical energy. So motor takes electrical energy and gives out mechanical energy. Okay. So now we should see what is the principle of operation of DC motor. Okay, or in general any motor. Okay. So principle of operation, principle when a current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field, when a current carrying conductor placed in magnetic field the conductor will experience force. Conductor will experience force. Now it is simple. In the induction motor I have explained that when you take two magnets near to each other, either they attract or they repel. What is happening? There is a magnetic field already existing and I am placing a current carrying conductor into that. So that current carrying conductor is having its own magnetic field. So two magnetic fields will attract. Then as a result of that, interact. Two magnetic fields will interact, and as a result of that, either there is repulsive force or there is attractive force exertion. So in both the cases there will be some force, and that force is exerted on the conductor. Because if I want the motor action, then I make one part of the motor to be moving, that is rotating. So the part which is rotating will start rotating. Okay, you will start the part which is moving or movable, that starts rotating. In this way, I will get out the mechanical output from the motor. Okay, so when a current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field, that conductor will experience the force, and force is given by F is equals to B-I-L. Okay, F is equals to B-I-L. Okay, so where F is force produced on conductor, okay, in newtons, then B flux density in Weber per meter square, I current in conductor in amperes, then L, okay, or small l, length of conductor in meters. So here length is the physical dimension of the conductor. So there should be some conductor, and if I make the current in that 0, then force exerted will be 0. If there is current and there is no magnetic field, then also force exerted is 0. So therefore, to get the force exerted electromagnetically, there should be a magnetic field into which a current carrying conductor has to be placed. If the length is more, force exerted will be more. If the length is less, force exerted will be less. Okay. And This is given by Fleming's left hand rule. Now force exerted, I know that in motor the conductor has to rotate in circular direction. Okay, it has to rotate. It should not simply move in a linear displacement way, it has to rotate. Okay, so it has to rotate about the fixed axis. Now how will be the force exerted on each conductor? Now there are so many conductors in the armature. Is it? So this is my armature of DC motor. This armature, and I have these many conductors placed in the slots. Now if armature has to rotate in clockwise direction, each conductor has to experience the force in the same direction. Each conductor has to experience force in the same direction. If these two conductors experience force in opposite direction, so suppose this is experiencing downwards, it has to experience upwards. Now this is also experiencing downwards, this is also experiencing downwards. The rotor will not rotate at all. I won't get motor action. So to get the motor action, all the conductors placed here in the armature slots should experience the force in the same direction. So the force exerted on each conductor should be cumulative. It should be cumulative. Will it be possible? That we have to check. Okay, that is obtained by Fleming's left hand rule. So next what we will look into is Fleming's left hand rule. That is also the part of operating principle. So we look into first Fleming's left hand rule. The induced EMF is given by Fleming's right hand rule. The force exerted is given by Fleming's left hand rule. Okay. So what does it state? When thumb, forefinger and middle finger are stretched, yeah, we will take the same definition. When the thumb, forefinger and middle finger are stretched perpendicular to each other, then if forefinger indicates direction of field, middle finger indicates direction of current in conductor, then direction of thumb indicates the direction of force. Then direction of thumb indicates direction of force. The left hand rule has to be defined in the same way, because first I should define what the causes are directed. Field and current are the cause, effect is the motion of the conductor. Okay, so forefinger, how to remember this? Forefinger, I have three fingers, forefinger, middle finger, then thumb. Middle finger, forefinger, F or field. This is both in right hand rule and left hand rule, both. F is field. Okay, this is to remember, not it is as per the state. How to remember which finger is for which parameter? F, forefinger for field. Middle finger I, current. Thumb, M, motion. So this is true for right hand rule as well as left hand rule. Left hand rule is defined first by taking the direction of field and current, then the direction of motion. Right hand rule is defined first by taking the direction of field and motion, then the direction of current. Because as per right hand rule, EMF is getting induced, current is getting induced. As per left hand rule, motion is getting produced. Therefore last should be motion, force. Okay, direction of force or direction of motion, or direction of motion of conductor. Now I should cross check whether this statement holds good at every instant for the conductor or every instant in the machine. Let us take a 2-pole machine. So this is south, this is north. So let us take the direction of field is from north to south. We know that. This is the direction of the field, and I have the conductors. Let us take a coil. Okay, let us take a coil. Let this be conductor A dash, and I will take one more coil, B dash. Okay, B dash. So let us take the direction of current in it. Plus under north, if it is plus under north pole, the other coil side under south pole is carrying minus current. Now let this be plus and let this be minus. Okay. So let us now first define what are the directions. Okay. Current away from observer. Then obviously minus will be current towards observer. Current away from observer plus minus current towards observer. This is my convention. You can take current away from negative towards positive. There is no compulsion in that. Okay. So now I need to look into, as per this direction of current and as per the direction of the field, what is the direction of induced force. Okay. Now let us take in conductor A, apply the Fleming's left hand rule for conductor A. Now stretch 3 fingers as per the Fleming's left hand rule. Stretch these 3 fingers mutually perpendicular to each other such that Forefinger indicates the direction of the field. Now field is from north to south, that is left to right. Forefinger indicates the direction of the field. Middle finger indicates the direction of current in the conductor. Now here it is plus. Okay, so plus current away from the observer. This is the direction of the current. Now it is away from the observer. Okay, field, direction of current away from the observer. Therefore, the direction of the thumb gives the direction of the force or direction of motion. Now the force is downwards. Field is left to right. Current is away from the observer. Force is downwards. So this is the force. This is the force F. Now on the other coil side, these two are connected back with coil sides. Okay, there is a coil side here, and this is also connected. These are the same sides of the same coil. Okay, coil sides of the same coil. So now apply now for this A dash. Direction of field is left to right. Now direction of current in conductor A dash is towards the observer. It is towards the observer. So the direction of thumb indicates the force exerted. Now the direction of force is upwards. Okay, now this is force. Same case with this, with positive conductor current, it will be downwards. F, negative, it will be upwards. Okay, so now observe, this conductor is pushing the rotor downwards, this conductor is pushing the rotor upwards. Though it appears the force exerted on both the coil sides are opposite to each other, because one is downward, one is upward. But in the rotating motion, these forces are called cumulative directed force, because this is dragging the rotor downward, this is pushing the rotor upward. So rotor, here it goes down, here it goes up. Okay, it moves. Now let us take, there are many conductors. We know that all the conductors under north pole will carry the same current. All the conductors under south pole will carry the same direction current. So all these are plus, 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 plus. All these are minus, minus, minus. Now as per this convention, all the conductors that carry current away from the observer will have the force downwards. Okay, but the force is how? It is tangential. Please remember, it is tangential force. So it is downward, it is downward, it is downward, it is downward. Okay, it is downward, 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 downward. Now in negative, it is upward, 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 upward. Now look into all the directions, all the forces and their directions. All the forces are acting in the same direction actually. So every conductor is experiencing a force tangentially in the same direction, and this will yield a cumulative effect on the armature, and armature starts rotating in one particular direction. Okay, if I change the convention, the armature will now rotate clockwise. Now the armature rotates in anti-clockwise direction. Armature rotates in anti-clockwise direction. So this is how the DC motor starts running. This is how DC motor starts running. This is the principle of operation of DC motor. So when it is asked to discuss the principle of operation of DC motor, you should be writing this. Okay, what is, how the force is exerted, F equal to BIL. That statement, current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field experience force, and the direction of force is justified by Fleming's left hand rule. So this all explanation you should be writing. Okay. So Next, we'll move to back EMF. Back EMF. This is also known as counter EMF. This is also known as counter EMF. Okay, so first we'll see. I have this DC machine. This is I have DC motor. North pole, south pole. I have this flux and I have the armature conductors in the armature. So, okay, now we know how the rotor starts rotating. Now let us take this is rotating in clockwise or anti-clockwise, any direction you can consider. Now there is flux. Now when I provide current to the armature conductors through commutator segment, then these conductors will carry current. This will form their own flux and these two fluxes will interact and rotor starts rotating. Okay, so now I will take out only one conductor. Now I have these conductors which are rotating. This is the magnetic field flux, main flux phi produced by each pole when we supply the field winding. Now observe, when these conductors are rotating in the motor, these conductors are continuously cutting the main flux phi. This is the main flux phi. Okay? A torque is produced, a force is produced on these conductors and these conductors are rotating. When these conductors are rotating, these rotating conductors are cutting continuously the flux produced by each pole. Now what happens when any conductor cuts flux? An EMF is induced. Okay, when any conductor cuts flux, an EMF is induced. Okay, similarly in these conductors also a EMF is induced, and any induced EMF as per the Lenz's law has to oppose its cause. Now what is the cause for producing this EMF? The rotation. What is the cause for rotation? Current in the conductor. What is the cause for current in the conductor? Supply voltage. So this induced EMF will oppose the supply voltage. Because they are opposing the supply voltage, this induced EMF is opposing the supply voltage, it is called back EMF. It is operating back on the supply. It is called back EMF or counter EMF because it is countering the main voltage, supply voltage given. Okay, I will explain you once again. When I provide current or supply to the armature winding, when I apply the supply voltage from the source, armature winding will start carrying the current. That armature current will create the force. Now armature current carrying conductors will experience force because they are kept in the main magnetic field of 5 Webers per pole. Now this flux is creating the force on this conductor. Now when the force is produced on this conductor, armature starts rotating, then those armature conductors are continuously cutting the main flux phi. Because armature conductors are cutting main flux phi, there is an EMF induction occurring in the armature conductors. Now because this is the induced EMF in the armature conductor, that will oppose the main cause, which is the supply voltage. So the effective voltage across armature is always supply voltage minus back EMF. That is the effective voltage. Initially back EMF is 0. Initially, because there is no rotation, so there is no induction. Initially back EMF is 0, but once the motor starts rotating, back EMF is generated in the conductor's armature, and the direction of that back EMF or the direction of that induced EMF is opposing the main cause, that is supply voltage. Because it is opposing the supply voltage, it is called back EMF or counter EMF. Back EMF or counter EMF. Okay. So this is how the back EMF is generated, and circuit symbol for this is, circuit symbol for motor is similar to generator. This is motor. Now it comes M. This is armature, this is brush. Okay, now let us take shunt field machine. Let this be the supply voltage V volts. Let this be having a resistance of RSH. This is ISH. In generator, armature used to give the current out. F, or sorry, Z. This is A and A. Generator is the one which gives out the current. Motor is one which will receive the current. This is IL. Okay. So this is DC motor, where IL is line current, not load current now. Line current. ISH equal to V by RSH is field current. IA is armature current. Now here I can see, apply KCL here. IL is entering, ISH are leaving, and IA are leaving. So IL is equals to ISH plus IA. Therefore IA is equals to IL minus ISH. Equations remain same, only the sign changes here. In case of generator, it is IL plus ISH. In case of motor, it is IL minus ISH. So when this current IA flows through this armature starts rotating. When it starts rotating, it will, all the armature conductors cut the flux, and an EMF is induced in that armature conductors, and that EMF opposes the main cause, that supply voltage. And here I have the back EMF EB, which is acting opposite to the main supply voltage. This is plus, this is minus, so it is opposing the supply voltage. EB is opposing the supply voltage. The direction of EB is opposite to the supply voltage. Okay. So what is EB? EB is no back EMF. Back EMF or counter EMF. Back EMF or counter EMF. Now what is the voltage here? It is V volts. This is V volts. Now what is the effective voltage available in this, across this armature? Okay, effective voltage available across the armature. Now the voltage equation is given by V. Okay. Now apply KVL here. IR drop is there. All the voltages are drops. So therefore V minus EB minus IRA minus brush contact drop minus armature reaction drop equal to 0. apply KVL to armature circuit. V minus EB minus IARA minus brush contact drop minus armature reaction drop equal to 0, or V is equals to EB plus IRA plus brush contact drop plus armature reaction drop. So that was EA is equals to V plus IRA. Here it is V is equal to EB plus IRA, or EB is equals to V minus IRA minus BCD minus ARD. So this is the voltage equation EB. Now what is the amount of EMF generated in the armature, that is back EMF? As EB is generated in armature due to rotation of armature EB is same as EA, or equation for EB is same as EA, that is EB is equals to phi Zn by 60 into P by A. So in DC generator this equation becomes the generated EMF. In DC motor that equation becomes the back EMF. In DC generator this equation phi Zn by 60 P by A becomes generated EMF. In motor it becomes back EMF, because the way in which EB is generated is the same way as EA is generated. Therefore, the expression, the EMF equation of generated back EMF is same as that of armature generated EMF in case of generator. Okay? So I will write this equation. You take this as equation 1, this as equation 2, this as equation 3. Okay. Neglecting brush contact drop and armature reaction drop. Let us neglect brush contact drop and armature reaction drop. Those are very small, so let us neglect and write equation 1, not 2, and write equation 1. Okay. That is V is equals to EB plus IR. V is equals to EB plus IR. Now let us multiply on both sides by armature current. Let us multiply both sides by armature current IA. So what we get is V into IA is equals to EB into IA plus IA square RA. Okay. So this is the voltage equation. This is the power equation. Okay. So equation 4 is power equation of DC motor. Because here see V is voltage, EB is voltage, IRA is drop, which is also an voltage. But whereas in this equation 4, V into Ia, voltage into current is power. EB into Ia, voltage into current is power. Ia square Ra, loss, but still it is power. So equation 4 is the power equation of DC motor. Equation 4 is the power equation of DC motor. Now we need to look what is V into Ia, which power is V into Ia, which power is EB into Ia, which power is Ia square Ra. Okay. So here V into Ia, what this indicates? V into Ia indicates, see, V is the voltage supplied, Ia is the armature current. Is it? V is the supply voltage, Ia is the armature current. So which power does it indicate? It is the armature power. Now I should be knowing whether this armature power V into Ia, is it given from external source or generated by the machine. If this is generator, it would have been the generated power, but it is a motor. I am providing this current and voltage from the external source. So this is what the input power to the armature. Okay, across armature, it is a motor. Ia is flowing from the source V. I will redraw this circuit diagram. Now this is voltage V, because this shunt field winding is exactly across the supply. So whatever the voltage V supply volts I have, the same appears across this shunt field winding. Now this V is appearing entirely across the armature. So V is the voltage that is given from the source to armature. Ia is the current that is drawn from the source through or by the armature. So both V and I are getting from the source by the armature. Hence, anything that I get is input for me. So therefore, V into Ia is armature input power. Armature input power or input power to armature. I think that will be more understanding statement. Input power to armature. Because it is a motor, power has to be received from the source. Then Ia square Ra. Obviously, we know what is I square R, it is a loss. Armature copper loss or copper loss in armature. Now what is EB into Ia? Okay, I will write a general equation here to make you understand. Now input is equals to something plus losses. What is that? Fill in the blanks. Input is equals to something plus losses. Definitely this is output. So input is always equal to output plus losses. As per this power equation 4, V into Ia is input, Ia square Ra is output. Then what is EB into Ia? It is output. Output of armature. But one thing we should remember, output of armature should be mechanical because it is a motor that takes electrical input, gives out mechanical output. But EB into IA is an electrical power. EB is an electrical quantity, IA is an electrical quantity. The product of two electrical quantities will yield the electrical quantity. So EB into IA is an electrical power. Then how can this be mechanical power? So this EB into IA is nothing but electrical equivalent of mechanical power produced by armature. I can represent this. Now, very simple example I will give you. Now, I have a resistor. Okay, it is of resistance R. It carries the current I. Now, this resistance is of a lamp, incandescent lamp, which is of 60 watts. Let us take this lamp is of 60 watts. Okay, and it is working for 24 hours. It is working for 24 hours. Now, what is the amount of light energy generated by it? 60 watts. Light energy is equal to 60 watts multiplied by 24 hours. Okay, multiplied by 24. So this much amount is the light energy. And how I can give this electrically? Power 60 watts, I can write it as I square into R into T. Light energy is not an electrical quantity. Heat energy is not an electrical quantity. But how I represent it electrically? I square R into T is the heat energy. Is it? Similarly, EB into IA, the rotation is not an electrical quantity. The power output of motor, which is mechanical in the form of a torque, is not an electrical quantity. But still I can represent that using electrical parameters or electrical quantities, that is EB into IA. So on that basis, I take EB into IA because it has come out in power equation. I have input power, I have losses. So remaining is output, simple. So that is my output generated by the or output produced by the armature. And what is the nature of output produced by the armature? Is mechanical output. Therefore, this electrical power EB into IA is analogous to mechanical power or equivalent to mechanical power. So once I find out the mechanical equation for the output power, I can equate it to this, which we will do in next forthcoming topic. Okay? So this is the power equation of DC motor. Okay? This is the power equation of DC motor. Now, how this back EMF EB is important. Now, what happens if there is no back EMF? One question you will get in exam, many times it has been asked, what is the significance or importance of back EMF existence? Okay, significance of back EMF. Okay, significance of back EMF. Now, voltage equation of DC motor is V is equals to EB plus IR. Momentarily, I will neglect armature reaction and brush contact drops. V is equals to EB plus IR. Okay. Now, what is Ia is equals to? It is V minus Eb divided by Ra. And generally the value of Ra is very small. Ra is very small because it is armature resistance. Armature should not have large resistance, else large drop will be there across armature and more losses will be there in the armature. So Ra is very small and Ia is given by V minus Eb upon Ra. Now if there is no back EMF present in the DC machine, let us take back EMF will not exist at all. Okay, if Eb is equals to 0, then Ia is equals to V by Ra. Okay, Ia is equals to V by Ra, which is very large value when compared to the load current. Okay, so very simple example I will give you of a motor that is used in our own laboratory in the department. We have a DC motor of 220 volts, okay, having a current rating of 13.3 amperes. The maximum current it has to carry is 13.3 amperes, and with various tests what we have performed so far, the resistance of that armature is around 3.2 ohms. These are not the arbitrary values. These are the values of the physical motor that is present in our laboratory. Okay. Now suppose that motor will not generate back EMF as per this equation. Then what would be the current Ia? Okay. This is the load current IL. ISH will come out to be around say 0.5 amperes. Then my Ia will come out to be 13.8 amperes. Sorry, 13.3 minus 0.5, 12.8 amperes. So the maximum current that my motor of 220 volts in my lab will carry 12.8 amperes in the armature. If it carries more than 12.8 amperes, the armature winding will burn. Now as per this analysis, if back EMF does not exist, then my Ia will be 220 divided by 3.2 ohms. How much it will be? 220 by 3.2, 68.75 amperes. So the winding that has to carry maximum of 12.8 amperes, now it is carrying 68 amperes. What should happen to that winding? It will, within a minute it will burn. So what back EMF is doing in the armature is, it is automatically regulating the armature current. It is automatically regulating the armature current. Now I cannot make back EMF 0, because if back EMF has to be made 0, then motor should not rotate. If motor does not rotate, what is the function of motor then? I need motor because I have to rotate and operate some load. If I am not operating load, then what is the use of that device? So whenever motor rotates, my back EMF is bound to occur. Whenever motor rotates, my back EMF is bound to occur. And because back EMF is generated automatically, my motor is regulated with respect to large armature currents. So automatically it is saved. This is how the opposition by the nature is saving and it is stabilizing the motor. So because of back EMF, DC motor is operating with stable condition. Because of EB, motor stability is good. If EB is not there, armature will carry very large current, within no minute my motor will burn, because EB is existing. Now what is EB? EB will be always nearly equal to the supply voltage. Okay, now what is EB as per this equation? EB is V minus IRA. V minus IRA. This IRA, okay, is we will take this only directly. Let us assume. So 12.8 into 3.2. I will approximate it to 3 ohms and approximate it to 13 amps. So 13 3s are 39. So EB is 220 minus 39. How much we will get? 19 will remain. In the sense 281 volts. Sorry, 181 volts. EB is 181 volts. So what is current now? As per this equation, IA is 220 minus 181 divided by RA, that is 3.2. 12.18. So because EB is present, my armature current will not exceed the maximum value. Because EB is present, my armature current will not exceed maximum value. If EB is absent, armature current will be tremendously high with respect to the maximum value. So therefore, EB back EMF is creating the stable operation of the motor. This is first significance. What is second significance? Okay. Armature power developed is EB into IA. Okay. If back EMF is more, armature power is also more. If armature power is more, efficiency of the motor is more. More the output power means more the efficiency. Simple. So if the induced EMF is, or the back EMF is more, then output power of the armature is more, which will increase the efficiency. The second significance of back EMF is that it will increase the efficiency of the motor. So these are the two significances of back EMF. Okay. So these are two significances of back EMF. So in the next class, today we will end here. In the next class, we will see what is the amount of mechanical power developed or torque developed in the DC motor. Okay. So in the next class, we will look into the torque equation. Thank you for joining the class.